Good evening. My name is Bill Kroyer. I am one of the governors of the Short Films and Feature Animation branch of the Academy. And I'd like to welcome you to this night honoring the medium that is the most successful, most honored medium in all of film, the animated feature film. And I can say that because since Snow White came out in 1939, minute for minute, animated feature films have made more money, sold more tickets, and I think inspired more people than any other medium. And the nominees this year, I think, will carry on that tradition. So our branch, animation, short films and feature animation, we actually have two nights that we honor our nominees. One of the few branches that does that. Tonight we honor our animated feature guys. And on Tuesday night we honored our short film nominees. And I'm proud to say that those two nights sell out faster than any other events in the entire Academy calendar. So thank you very much for making that happen. Thank you for your enthusiasm for doing that. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. Last night we had a terrific thing. For the first time ever, we had this night that they just invented. It was called the Branch Nominees Dinner. And we had just the nominees from the short films and the animation and the governors and a couple of guests. We got together, had dinner, had a few drinks, told war stories. It was really, really a special night. You know, I just think we have such a special branch. You know, in short films, live action filmmaking can be so big and complex and political. Short films, the filmmakers actually make the films, you know. When you meet these people, they made the films. And it's the same way with our animation directors tonight. You know, you're on the community, a lot of you. You know, you've worked with these people. We've come up through the trenches with them. We know them. They're real filmmakers. I am just so proud to be a part of this wonderful branch and these terrific nominees. So this is a big year for animated features. We had the most qualified features ever in the history of the award. This is the 12th year we've had the Animation Feature Award. The past 11 statues have gone to some of the greatest directors who have ever worked in animated features. Miyazaki, Bird, Stanton, Park, and on Sunday night, one of these names tonight will join that list. But tonight, as we like to say, everybody's a winner, because tonight everybody has that moniker that they will have for the rest of their lives, Academy Award nominee. That's good. It's a really special night, and we have a really special host. You know, we're just setting all kinds of new standards here at the Academy. This is the first time we've ever had a United States Marine Lieutenant Colonel host the animated feature night. He's a really talented actor. You've seen him on television, you've seen him in the movies, you've heard his voice in animated features. Despite his busy schedule, he helps returning veterans get a start in Hollywood. He's a really funny and terrific guy. Please give a warm round of applause to our host tonight, Mr. Rob Riggle.
All right. This is going to be a fun night. Well, welcome. Good evening. We're going to have fun tonight. It's a great opportunity, right, to meet some of the finest directors working in film today. Am I right? Yeah. So this will be good. This will be good. We'll get to spend time with them, ask them some questions. I'm not going to stand up here and go off for long, so we can get right to the meat of it. I got to tell you, though, I got to be honest, when my wife told me that the Academy was on the phone, I kind of lost it. Started screaming all kinds of things. Mainly, I told you so. Of course, I ran outside before she could stop me, and I told most of the neighborhood to kiss my ass. Also said them other things, like I'm untouchable and above the law, and it kind of went on from there, but after I got off the phone, of course, I did a lot of apologizing, so it's all good. But I'm still happy to be here tonight. Did anybody see yesterday in the USA Today, the article? Okay, I'm the only one who reads you. Well, we all read New York Times, Rob. Well, some of us read USA Today. There's a great article yesterday, and it says, "Animation ship has come in." That was the headline. And it's a great article. If you get a chance, find somebody who, like me, who reads USA Today and go get a copy. It's a great article, and animation ship has indeed come in. So let's just dive into this thing, shall we? Mark Andrews is a California native. He actually planned on joining the Marine Corps after high school. Way to go. But attended CalArts instead. After beginning an internship at Disney, he worked as a storyboard artist on several films. At Pixar Studios, he wrote and directed a short film, One Man Band, which earned him an Academy Award nomination for animated short subject. And he also directed the short film Violet. In 2012, he made his feature directorial debut with Brave, and also served as co-writer and second unit director on the live-action movie John Carter. Please welcome Mark Andrews.
Any chair.
Right, any chair.
That first chair.
That'll work.
Woo, hello, check, check. Yeah.
Check, 2,
All right.
3.
Very nice. I have my questions, so I'll be reading, so forgive me. Mark, how are you, by the way?
Fine.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Ron. Thank you.
You excited?
Thank you. Yes, very excited.
I hope so. We're
Very
excited
excited.
for you. And also, I apologize. Brenda Chapman, your co-director, could not be
Yes.
here tonight. She's not feeling well. She got ill at the BAFTAs, I guess, or something, I guess. That's what happened.
Something's
It's a
going
party.
around.
It's a party
Something's
at the
going around
BAFTAs.
in England.
Are you on?
I believe so.
All right.
Can you hear me? Yes.
All right.
Thank you,
Everybody
sir.
good? All right. I'm going to dive in and ask some questions. What do you think?
Do it.
All right.
I'm ready. 3rd degree.
All right. Brave is the first film from Pixar with a female protagonist. Yeah? Did this have any effect on your creative decisions as you approached the story?
No.
Love it.
And it shouldn't
Right.
really, as a storyteller, when we're making these characters, I mean, in all the Pixar films, we have, an old man, we have a Boy Scout, we have a bug, we have a fish, we have a superhero, we have a car, we have a robot, we have toys. Who gives a crap what exactly they are, What really matters is the type of character that they are, and we grow the characters from the ground up. We plant the seed of an idea of what's required out of the story, of how do we give this character this great path that they have to grow on. They start from one place into the other. We knew this character had to be independent and they had to be strong-willed because they're transforming out of adolescence into adulthood, in a film that's all about change and transformation and has magic elements. It all ties in together. So you wanted that. On top of that, you put it in the Middle Ages, and if it was about a prince, big deal. Princes get to do what they want. There's no stakes there. I want to marry the farmer's daughter, fine, but have a queen on the side. All right, So to have her dilemma, her choices, then she has to be a female in that time, in that age. And that part of the story was inspired by Brenda's own relationship with her daughter, who at the time, Emma, who was 6 or thereabouts, and was this very independent, fiery, strong-willed, difficult at times, little girl. And Brenda kind of flashed forward in the future and said, what is she going to be like as a teenager? And that kind of idea has a lot of merit. And as a storyteller, when you get something that's that, kind of universal and relatable, it's like, whoa, that's really good, right? That would make a great story. Now, let's set it where? Scotland. Done, and we're off and running.
Well, that brings up a good point too. I mean, it was set in Scotland, and you used several Scottish actors, for the voice cast, as well as a Scottish composer, to write the score. I'm assuming this was an important part, getting the characters and getting the music right, and to give that authentic feel. Is that something you were conscious about?
Yeah, I mean, we go to see movies so that we can be, young Scottish lasses in the Highlands, fighting against magic and the social views of the time. We go see movies so that we can be a nurse in World War I, treating amputees and falling in love. I do. We go to see movies so we can be warlords in space operatic adventures, or the Marine charging up the hill. We go to escape. We go to be entertained. So we have to create worlds that are authentic, that have something that we don't have in our normal everyday lives. So to get that authentism, to find that character of Scotland, not only do we have to go there and really be in it and bring back all those kind of details, but cast it with Scottish folks. It wasn't necessarily a requirement. It just kind of turned out that way, Brenda loved our composer, Patrick Doyle, since he made his debut with Henry V. I did too. He just happens to be Scottish, which was great. And when I sat down with him to do the music, I say, I didn't want wall-to-wall bagpipes. If I hear a bagpipe, I'm going to hit you in the face. And he's all right, I see what you're talking about. All right, let's do it. And we have some bagpipes in the score, so he's fine. We worked it out. But what I didn't want is I didn't want that caricature of Scotland that's just bagpipes. I wanted an ancient Scotland. I wanted an old feel. So he really got into that, and he knew those melodies kind of from those times and going deep into the Celtic roots. And he dug up old instruments and stuff and lyres and things like that they used back then, and flutes and whistles and stuff. And that's was the root of the music.
Wow. That's really awesome to hear.
Deep, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. So let me ask you, are you a parent?
I am.
Okay. And you talked about, there was an influence on Brenda from her daughter. Mm-hmm. As a parent, do you have experiences that influenced the writing and directing of this movie or any other?
Yeah. There's lots. I mean, being a parent, and I have a daughter and 3 sons, just as it turns out, does Fergus in the movie. That wasn't planned. But being the dad, and I'm kind of, at my house, I'm a lot like Fergus, and my wife is kind of like the queen. She actually runs the house, tells me what to do, and I just laugh and make jokes at parties and all that kind of stuff, and get angry every once in a while. And the kids, love me. Yeah, that's all dads. Yeah. But I mean, as a parent, the thing that I was noticing with my wife and my daughter's relationship were the very things that were going on in this story that I could see and I could pull from. I mean, they're always telling each other, just listen to me, just listen. If you just see my side of it. So that's in there. And it's very relatable. But the other thing is being a parent of a parent and child relationship, it's them growing up, that they're not you're a kid anymore. They're turning into an adult. And we're becoming their equals. And one thing that I do with my kids is I play with them all the time. I'll just come home from work and I'll lie down on the floor and I'm all, wrestle time, which just means dog pile on daddy time. But when we're playing like that, or we're playing with Legos or action figures, it's no longer a parent-child relationship. It's a person-in-person relationship. And they get to know me as me, and I get to know them as them. And that's really special. And that's something that I put directly into the movie to break down that kind of hierarchy barrier. It's play. Play is the great equalizer. We're no longer boss and whatnot. You just come down and it's just playing. And you see the truth in the person. So that whole moment when they're in the river, if anybody has seen the movie, if you haven't, please rush out and see it. And remember to vote. That was all based on play, and all the play moments with the triplets and everything, all that stuff with Fergus playing with Merritt at the beginning and teaching her how to shoot, all that stuff was kind of from my experiences. And I remember there's one line, my daughter, who's my oldest, was having problems with her brothers, and I to me, when I came on the scene, they hadn't done anything. I'm a boys guy. Maeve, reprimand. She's all, but it was them. I'm all, go to your room. She's all, my brothers get away with murder and I can't get away with anything. And I'm all, oh, that's going in the movie. So I took that right into work that day and dropped it right in the script, and it's there. Yeah.
My sister used to slap her arm and scream, Rob, ow! And then my dad would come after me.
I tricked my
And I'd look
brothers.
at my sister and say, it's diabolical. And she'd be like, bye-bye.
I'm the oldest, and I got two brothers, and I would get them so riled up so that they were cursing just as my mom was walking by, and they're all, F you, Mark, I f***ing hate you. All of a sudden, they're off getting their mouths washed out with soap. I've never had that experience.
Well played, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well played. All right, let me ask. We're good on time. I just want to ask a couple more. Brave. Would it have been as effective as a live action film? Had it been made that way?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know. Maybe. I think when we're watching an animated film, there is more of an acceptance of it because it's not something that we've seen every day. That it's caricaturized, it's specialized. When we look at these characters, we go, "Oh yeah, she's in trouble with all that hair and the way she's walking. She's trouble. Oh, that guy's big." You know, to get those same reactions instantaneously out of live action film, you have to do a lot of work. You know, we're automatically sizing up. You know, well, I do. You know, Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt comes on, I'm all, yeah, I could be that. That's not really getting into the film, you know. But when the three Lord's sons show up, you're all doofer, and even more stupid. Right. And you're there, you know, you're there with Merida. So I think there's a much more, and it's been going on for centuries. I mean, the cavemen painting in the caves, you know, illustration has been such a direct connection to our emotions and as symbols that it's come up, and it's very complicated now, but I mean, through painters, you know, all the way up to now, and animation as this film medium, I think there's just a quicker emotional core to an illustration. We're more forgiving of it, I think, what we're trying to say, than live action. In live action, you have to do a lot more work.
Oh, okay, that's great. Last question.
So no.
Last question. How important was it to try and keep a balance of humor with the conflict in the mother-daughter relationship?
Huge. That was one of the central problems that we were having in crafting the story, was making Merida not just a bratty teen and making Eleanor not a mommy dearest meanie. You know, we would either have Merida's being a and we love mom. Well, we can't have that. Okay, let's go the other way. Oh, now mom's being a and Merida's really sweet. Well, that doesn't. So yeah, having that balance so we understand where they're coming from was kind of pivotal for understanding their relationship, that they're both well-intentioned, you know? So there's that whole idea of the scene that came up that were separate scenes at first, where they're talking to each other without talking to each other. And we do it through the editorial, you know, process, the cutting, where they're saying what they really want to say to each other, you know, just listen. But they're not in the same room together. Those were actual scenes that they had that were separate. That separate didn't work. But as soon as you cut them together, you go, I get it. And then the cherry on top of that to really make it work was have the scene right after that when they are alone together and they can say what they want to say. And they didn't, and they let it go, and that's real. And I remember we were in a story session.
That was great storytelling.
Thank you. We were in a story session, and this was one of the problems. And we're all yelling at each other in a story. If you've never been in a story room, it's fabulous. It's trial by fire. It's forging. It's Conan. It's forging steel. I love it. But we're all yelling at each other and, you know, throwing things. It's great. And one of my storyboard artists goes, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. This whole concept doesn't work. If they just talk to each other, then the movie's over. And I go, you're right. And it shut the room up. And I'm all, what if we do just that? And they're all, what? And then that idea came up. I'm all, let's have them talk to each other, but not. And they're all, and they all saw it instantaneously. Yeah. And you know something's a gem or something's really working when 11 people are in the room going, And I pitch it, and they're all, yeah. I'm all, okay, now go draw it. Let's go.
I thought it was a fabulous way to
Thank
tell
you.
that story. I thought it was wonderful. Mark Andrews, everybody. Brave.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. We're moving on to ParaNorman now. A wonderful, wonderful film. I saw it with my kids in the theater. Just loved it. So let me tell you about the directors, shall I? All right. Sam Fell, director. Sam was born in the UK, graduated from university with a degree in fine arts. He worked as a director and animator in various production companies, including Artem Animations, where he was a key animator on the Academy Award-nominated short film Watt's Pig. He shared directing credit on Flushed Away and The Tale of Despereaux. I even rehearsed that. It's the X. Public school, what are you going to do? All right. And also Chris Butler, his co-director, and also writer. Chris was born in Merseyside, England, and has worked in various capacities on animated features, including character design, storyboard artist, and head of story. He spent more than 10 years writing the original script for ParaNorman, which was partly inspired by his grandmother, who told him she was going to, quote, watch over him. All right. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And welcome. Very exciting. Very good stuff. I had one of those stick figures with the face. Did you know that they had those out?
Yeah.
Of Norman?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had
No, why don't I know about this?
It was Norman's face on a stick.
Have you got one of these?
I've got like a bunch of them. Like I just.
Can someone sort this out, please?
There's
Seriously.
one thing I've learned is you've got to grab the stuff while it's going,
right.
you know, because it's gone. Like
Yeah.
it's suddenly gone. You see all this cool stuff, and we made the film, and I'm more wise to it. I've been through a few films now.
I had
so,
I had to put it in front of my face and do that for about 2 weeks after we saw ParaNorman to put my son to bed because he
that's
enjoyed
good.
hearing. He really loved the movie.
Oh,
he really
that's great.
loved
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
All right, let's dive in with some questions so we can get to talking about things here. You said that whose grandmother was it? I'm sorry.
It's my grandmother.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my dead grandmother. Yeah.
Oh, yes, sorry. My apologies.
Sorry.
That's what was the inspiration for watching over. We knew that.
Yeah.
And she was the inspiration for ParaNorman, correct?
There were a few things that were an inspiration to ParaNorman. Grandma Nana, as she was one of them. And I think what was great about her was that she introduced me to the concept of death at an early age. It sounds morbid when I say it. But
Every grandmother should do that.
It was nice. She said, when I'm gone, I'm going to stick around to watch over you. At the time, I didn't think haunting.
Right.
But other people have said that since then, and I think, oh yeah. But she
I think that's a lot. I think that's a common fear. I think a lot of us fear that our dead relatives are watching us masturbate. It's just me?
You're on your own there.
Oh
Rob.
boy, okay. Sorry about that.
We're talking about my grandmother. Nana.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nana.
She'll be around she's going to be around your house tonight, Rob. I think.
Okay, let's talk about you two and the amazing work you've done and the hard work you've done. On a project like this, I know you probably get this all the time, how do you divide your duties?
We didn't divvy it up, and it can, a film can get very schizophrenic with two directors, and that's like a bum thing, So, I mean, obviously Chris had been with it for a long time, like he'd been developing it over years and years, and so it's very close to him. And I came, obviously later. But our thing was just to talk, and I could already tell from meeting Chris and looking at the stuff he'd done that he liked the same kind of things I did. So you know what I mean? And I think that's like the best.
Helps.
It's the best relationship sometimes. We just sat down and we talked about, do you like William Eggleston? Yeah, I love William Eggleston. Do you like, John Bryan? We like so many of the same things that we were just out to celebrate the stuff we loved, you know. So
You almost had a shorthand to begin with.
Yeah. And we spent like the first year we just spent together. We were we're like a married couple, you know. Like we just like walked around.
It's over now, by the way. just so we're clear.
I thought it might be a chance to carry on, but you know, it's done.
But I think part of it as well was that when Sam came in, he looked at. There were several projects that were going on in development, but I think because this so specifically references definite things, you know, it's definitely referencing the 80s. We always talk about it as John Carpenter meets John Hughes, and all that was in the script.
That's a great analogy.
You know, I mean, that was always intentional. So I think once he saw what I was doing, if you know those references, then you know what it is. It wasn't like we were ever struggling to find out what the movie was about, you know. So it actually gave us the opportunity to sit down in a room and discuss the aesthetic more than, you know, what it was about.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd been heading to this project since like 1972 when I saw my first Ray Harryhausen movie.
Right.
You know, like I've just been into monster stuff forever, and for some reason, EC comics were widely available in the Isle of Sheppey in Kent when I was growing up in the 70s. You know, like all of this kind of American pop culture was coming to Britain, you know, at that time. And like we were just kind of immersed in, you know, the whole wave of Spielberg movies, you know, and the way Spielberg's career took off, and like movies like E.T., you know.
Goonies.
Like, Goonies,
yes.
of course,
Yes.
you know. There's so much. And, you know, so coming to this, it's like, it's not alien to us from the UK, you know, like for me.
Were there specific horror films?
Oh, yeah.
That inspired?
Yeah. I watched Night of the Living Dead when I think I was 8.
That's terrifying.
Oh, no. Well,
for an
here's the
8-year-old.
thing. I thought it's black and white. How bad can it be? And then there was the part where the child is eating her mother in the basement. And that stuck with me.
I saw Salem's Lot, and it was in black and white. It might have been my cheap TV.
I think
It was your cheap TV. Yeah. You can catch that in colour.
But I found it to be terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, so at a very young age.
But you like that, you know. I think you want to be scared, you know, like when you're growing up. And I always remember that, you know. I would wait till my parents had gone to bed, and I'd sneak back down and like flick on the TV, and there'd be some late night Dracula or something. Yeah. And it would be really scary.
It is titillating. It is.
Yeah.
There is something to it.
You want to go to this unknown place that your parents don't want you to go to. You just do.
And this was definitely video nasties, as we called them
Yeah,
back home.
like-
This was zombie movies. So it was Night of the Living Dead.
Cannibal Holocaust, you could get that.
Oh well, now
Driller
hang on,
Killer.
don't go too far. Sorry,
I remember those.
Sorry.
Like, but the VHS changed a lot. I
No, it
thought,
did,
'cause
it
you could see like Driller Killer without trying to get into the movie theater, you know, because it was out on VHS, and
That's right.
Your sister's older boyfriend had left it lying around.
That's the
and
angle.
You could just pop it in the
I
machine.
must
You were
interject though, in that Driller Killer did not influence
this
our
film.
family movie.
It's a family movie.
in any way.
No, some of the garish lighting, maybe.
Yeah. To be honest, it was like, you know, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, any movie with the word dead in it, apparently. All the zombie movies, to me, what it came down to was that in wanting to make a zombie movie for kids, I looked at all the good zombie movies, and they're all social commentary. They all use zombies as a metaphor, and that was the idea really behind this, was what would the social commentary be? And it turned out to be bullying. So there is... See, I've made it highbrow now.
Oh, no, it's good. I like this.
Poured us out of the
See what I did there?
schlock.
Yeah.
No, but this is good. This is good. I want to hear where you're coming from. I want to know the thought process and the things that motivated you, inspired you, changed things in the course of making it. You know, I mean, it is a process.
Yeah.
So that is. I love hearing that stuff. I'm sure everybody else does too.
Oh, shucks.
And while I got you in a technical mood, let me ask you some technical questions here. Was there any pressure to make the film with computer or cell animation as opposed to stop motion? Was there any pressure?
No, I mean, it came from Leica, you know, like Chris was already there, Coraline is the home, you know, Leica, where it's...
Outstanding.
You know?
Outstanding.
I mean, basically Travis Knight, the guy that set the studio there, and all the people there, they love stop motion. They just love it, you know? And they're not purists. They don't want to just keep it old-fashioned and make it museum piece. They were adding a lot of new technology. We used a lot of computers in it and a lot of modern
that final
techniques.
scene with the
She's
tree
a puppet,
and
though.
Yeah.
She is a puppet.
Yeah.
That's what we always wanted to do. It was always not pure. Travis always calls us Luddites who've embraced the loom, in that we will use whatever technology is available to us to make sure that what you see on the screen looks the best that it can. We try and make sure that, at its heart, it is stop motion. So almost every shot, I think, starts with a puppet. So the Aggie was a physical puppet. Norman was a puppet. So the animator on set can get that physical relationship between them under lights. But then on top of that, we have 2D animation, we have CG animation. She had a CG dress. And it wasn't that we were trying to take shortcuts. It was just that we wanted to make her look like something that you'd never seen before. I wanted, when people saw Aggie, to think, I don't know how they did that, as opposed to, I don't know why they did that.
There's always
No,
a fear of
I
that.
love it. I mean, to me, it speaks to craftsmanship.
Yeah.
That's what it speaks. That's what I feel like it is. And it's also, would you consider this your signature on animation as far as the way it looks?
Yeah, I think we made our own look,
Right,
like we
for
were
this
very,
movie.
Yeah, we were aware. Like when we first met, we were like, oh my God, we're making stop motion. We're in the world of horror. There's a very well-known director out here today, that does great horror stop motion.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
It's just like, he makes these films. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
But we just, you don't want to go there, or like we really wanted to create our own signature, our own feeling, our own mood. And I think like drawing from like the 80s movies gave us our own flavor. And also like just in terms of the color and lighting, we wanted to be really punchy with the color. And we were looking at like Italian horror movies, like Fulci and Bava and stuff. So yeah, we worked through every single aspect of the production to really make it a unique thing, like our own.
Well, mission accomplished, gentlemen, because it's an outstanding film. ParaNorman.
Thank you.
Chris Butler and Sam Fell, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Let's keep it rolling. Are you guys having fun? I love hearing this stuff. It's so cool. Okay, next up is the Pirates, Band of Misfits. Am I right? They gave me no running order. I'm guessing. Let's hope it's Pirates. Peter Lord is the director and producer. Born in Bristol, England, Peter Lord formed Aardman Animations with David Sproxton, and it was a low-budget studio for producing shorts and trailers. Nick Park joined the company in the late 80s. Aardman produced such Oscar-nominated and Oscar-winning shorts as Creature Comforts, A Grand Day Out, The Wrong Trousers. Yeah, go ahead. Let it flow. It deserves it. A Close Shave and A Matter of Loaf and Death, as well as Wallace and Gromit in The Curse of Were Rabbit, which in 2005 won the Oscar for animated feature film. So that was... Lord has also been nominated for animated short film Adam and Watt's Pig. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
That's
Thank
outstanding.
You.
And what a wonderful film. What a wonderful film. You must be very proud, I hope.
I'm very proud, yeah.
Good.
Sure. And had a lot of fun making it, of course. Yeah.
Good. Well, it's been 12 years since Chicken Run, since you've directed.
Yes. Yeah.
Why did you decide to return to directing after producing for so many years?
I didn't ever really want to produce, to be honest. It just happened to me,
Okay. All right.
It's so easy. If you're not watching carefully, it just happens to you. And I never really, I didn't want to, but I felt it was necessary,
Sure.
actually. And then I started to realize that if I didn't put my hand up quick, I was going to be a producer forevermore, which was just a terrible fate. So so this project came along, and I grabbed it.
Oh, I'm glad you did. I'm really glad you did. Of the 5 pirate books that were out there, why did you decide to film this one?
We didn't take the books very seriously. I mean, as raw material. Well, that's rubbish. That's not true. The fact is that the writer of the books wrote the screenplay, so that's a fantastic position to be in.
Absolutely.
And he'd written 2 at the time, I think, so we bought the rights to 2 and started evolving the first one with him. And it was a great introduction, it was very mischievous. It was such a funny idea. I read this book. People often develop and turn books into movies. It's a very common thing, but it had never interested me before. Really, I'd been very scornful of it and thought it was a lazy thing to do, and you should come up with a new idea. And then I found this book on it in a meeting, and I read it, and I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever read pretty well. So I couldn't resist it, basically.
Outstanding. Are there any other books in this series that you would like to make into a film?
Well, I would. So he's written The Pirates in Adventure. It's called in English. Sorry, in England. It's called,
that's okay. We speak American here.
It's called The Pirates in an Adventure with Scientists.
Okay.
And I think that's a very English joke. I think and I think the studio over here thought it was too English a joke, because why it's a joke is because it's all about disappointment. Actually, isn't it? It's a big it's like the pirates in adventure with scientists. Well, who wants to see that? So that was his joke. And that's a very English joke, but you know, probably the studio over here thought that was maybe would scare the audience too much, right? Yeah. So he's also written The Pirates in Adventure with Whaling, The Pirates in Adventure with Romantics, and The Pirates in Adventure with Communists. So he's I think fast and loose is what he's playing with history.
That's fantastic. Hugh Grant. Not normally associated with this type of work or voice work, I guess. How'd you decide on him to play your captain?
Yeah, it was very interesting because I wanted him for his close-up comedy, really. Because a lot of the movie is sort of comedy dialogue, and that was the big attraction to me. And yes, I wanted a star. I wanted a big leading man. That helps with the movie. And so we approached him, and the script was great. Hugh Grant always has been saying for the past 10 years he doesn't want to act anymore, which is, he has to be dragged out of retirement or dragged off the golf course to come and act. He doesn't really want to do. But he was totally sold on the script, so that was great. But then initially it was quite hard work, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying so for both of us, because he does his shtick is this fabulous close-up comedy, the raise of the eyebrow, the hesitation, all that stuff he does so well. And at the start of the production, I wanted him to do a lot of big-chested roaring and stuff like that, and be big and show off. And he didn't like it at all. He really didn't want to do that. And so I wish we hadn't started there. Then we got on to the more intimate stuff, the comedy stuff, and he got really comfortable with it. And by the end, he was showing off really fine. But yeah,
and that is true too. When you start the process, the first day in the studio. It's a discovery a little bit, isn't it? For the actor and for the director and the producers and everybody.
Yes. I mean, I don't know about the other directors here, but we almost never got the actors together. And it's a weird thing about animation. I don't think it's a good thing. I'm not proud of it. In fact, I think it's stupid, actually. I think, and so it's difficult because there's no chemistry in the room. You're doing them all separately. And as soon as you do get two together, so we had Hugh Grant together with David Tennant and with Imelda Staunton, as soon as they're together, it's so easy because they just play the scene together, But if you don't do that, then you're trying to imagine the scene, and you assemble it like a sort of Frankenstein's monster, but ultimately successfully, I'm sure. But it's a hard way to work, so it's difficult for him. He comes in off the street. There's nothing to see. There's no costume. No ship, we're in a studio, and we do all we can. We bring a puppet in, we show him the story reel, but it's hard to get that simple human warmth going.
And also, when you come in, as a voice actor, I've come in with an idea in my head of what the character should be or what it could be.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll just do it and hope it sticks.
Yeah.
has that ever happened when an actor's come in and said, "How about this?" and they throw something in, and you're like, "That's so far off the mark." What do you do in situations like that? Or have you had that?
It depends who they are. Depends how sensitive they are. Some people you just say, "That is rubbish. No, please don't do that ever again." That happens sometimes. And then sometimes you record them for a whole session, knowing you'll never use it because you don't want to offend them too much.
That sounds very English.
Yes,
that sounds very English.
That is very English.
Excellent.
That is very English. I must say, we worked with Jeremy Piven. He was as the villain. And by the way, that itself is a very English joke because in Britain we are really tired of all our great actors always being the villain. You see all these American movies, and the bad guy is Jeremy Irons or something like that. And so it was our private joke to have the bad guy played by an American.
Well done. Well done. Oh. I better ask a technical question.
Yeah. They said it all. What they said was.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Through Aardman. Am I saying that right? Aardman?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Through Aardman, they're best known for stop motion. Flushed Away, Arthur Christmas. They were made computer animation.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to make Pirates stop motion?
I think we love stop motion best. Like these guys that we hear a minute ago. I mean, it's what we've always done. I mean, I've done it for a very long time since I was at high school. I've been doing it, and we've built around us a team of people who are brilliant at it and love doing it. Just love doing it. And as they were saying, it's a very great environment to work in. With all respect to other important studios, say in the Bay Area, that do CG, who do some quite successful films actually. But the fact is, and we've probably seen some of the publicity about the studio there, and it seems a pretty crazy place to work with. But that's because their work is so dull. Because what they're doing all day is sitting at a computer, right? But in our world, we're walking around, we're working with paint and iron and cameras and lights and toys, the most amazing toys in the world. It's a lovely environment. I mean, when we have studio open days, people just die for it because it's just a big old barn like this, but with black curtains, and you pull aside the black curtain, and inside is just some beautiful miniature set. So it's a very, very exciting and wonderful environment to live in. Having said all that, we've done CG films, to my way of thinking, certain stories are much more appropriate to CG. I think with stop motion, stop frame, we've made quite a big film in The Pirates, but it's a little bit more of a sort of chamber orchestra thing. I think a more intimate scale is appropriate.
Fantastic. Well, you've made a winner here, and congratulations. Peter Lord, everyone. Awesome. Next up, Wreck-It Ralph. Pretty great. Rich Moore, director and story. Rich Moore studied animation at California Institute of the Arts. He wrote and designed the short film Technological Threat, and was the sequence director for the Simpsons movie. Simpsons movie. I said it wrong. I say it like my son says it. He has won Emmys for his work on Futurama and The Simpsons. And he is pretty awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On this wonderful movie.
Thank you.
Any particular video game inspire Wreck-It Ralph?
Oh boy, there's a lot I love. Well, we drew a lot from our past. You would be amazed that at an animation studio, there's a lot of people who like video games. You would not.
I find that hard to believe.
I was surprised.
Interesting.
Definitely Donkey Kong.
I wondered. I thought
Pac-Man. Just those old games from the '80s.
I felt like Wreck-It Ralph had a Donkey Kong feel to it. I mean, other than
we
the
don't like to say it too
ascending,
much. Let's just kind of keep that on the DL.
Yeah. So the 90s, almost everything released by Disney features some sort of musical number. Was there
Yes.
ever any thought to maybe making Wreck-It Ralph a musical?
Well, never a full-blown musical, but there was a period in time where the character King Candy, who's the Alan Tudyk,
Wonderful voice.
terrific.
You had some great voice actors. You had a wonderful
was
cast.
Very, very lucky to work
had a great
with the cast we had. But there was a point where we did write a song for King Candy, and where he was describing the world that they lived in, and it's not a very good story, but
It's great. I would have loved to. Did you record
Alan
it?
did not. Alan did not record it, but Bobby Lopez from Book of Mormon wrote the song. He and his wife Kristen, and they did a temp of it, and it was describing how they solved any dispute in Sugar Rush, that they raced for everything. It was kind of like a Mary Poppins, a Sherman Brothers-esque, type of song. It didn't work, so it's not in the movie.
But thank you for trying. Thank
yeah,
you
we
for
tried.
trying,
That's our process.
That's
it's like
all. You gotta try.
we try lots of stuff. We throw it against the wall, and that sticks. Stays in the movie, and it's a very organic process of making films like this.
Yes.
As you know.
Yes. Yes. This particular movie. There have been some recent animated features, How to Train Your Dragon, Ratatouille, that have had complicated production histories. Did Wreck-It Ralph move smoothly through the whole process, or were there major changes made along the way?
Well, there had been for many years at the studio. I mean, going back like 15 to 18 years. I'm not quite sure what the history was, but there was a desire to make an animated film about the life of video game characters. So when I came in to the studio in 2008 as a director and discovered, that they had just put it on the shelf again about 6 months prior in a different incarnation, I thought, well, that's, I kind of like that. That seems, I like video games. That seems like a really good, rich world, to set something, a story in. So without kind of going back to the material that had been done before, I just started with that idea of, the life of video game characters. What is that like? So
Well, it's fascinating. I loved it. And when you talk about video games and you talk about that, the real game characters that you were able to bring in.
Yes.
Zangief, Qbert.
The great Zangief.
Yeah, there's a great Zangief. And you were able to work them into your film. I'm assuming that helped and enhanced in some way?
Absolutely. From the very beginning, I felt that it was, to do a movie like this, it was necessary to have real characters from games in it, just to give it a legitimacy and kind of a feeling of authenticity to that world. So we began in the beginning of developing the story, since we couldn't really go to those companies so early on and ask, can we have permission to use your characters in a way we have no idea that we're going to use them, because we're still trying to figure out, the story ourselves. So for about the first year of developing the story, I said to the story crew, let's just pretend like we have full rights to anyone we want. I like that. Let's not limit ourselves and say, well, we don't want to use Bowser because we probably can't get him. So just, if they're appropriate for the scene, put them in. And then we'll go about, someday we'll get to that bridge, we'll cross it then, So we just approached it as if, the world was, ours to pick from.
I think that's the right way to approach it. I really do. And you probably did you get much friction from people?
No, not really. I mean, we Clark Spencer, who's my producer, and I, we decided, rather than, let's try and make relationships with these companies rather than sending phalanx of Disney lawyers out to meet Nintendo's lawyers on the battfield and let them fight to the death. And the
That's
last
a great
one,
visual. I think we've got our next movie right there.
Phalanx of Disney lawyers. I always wanted to stand on a stage and say phalanx in front of phalanx. Peter Lord is he's so jealous right now. He could have turned that so well with that accent.
He could have.
Yeah.
He absolutely could have. Well, you have a unique. Oh, go ahead. Finish, please.
I can't remember. I was so swept up by the word phalanx. I was hoping you could. Yeah.
Well, you have wonderful perspective on a lot of things in your career. You've directed over a dozen episodes of Simpsons, Futurama, TV animation, film animation. How would you compare? Directing?
Well,
I mean, other than some of the nuts and bolts. I mean,
right. Well, I would say on The Simpsons, TV directing, from the first day you're behind, basically. It's like, okay, we start this show today. Where is it? It's like, aren't you done yet? It's really a sprint. It's a mad dash, to get this thing finished, to hit these deadlines. And it really needs to be good. The jokes need to play, the emotion needs to be there. So it was really for a young animation director, it was a great trial by fire of, taking a script, realizing it into a show, and getting it done on time, but making it the best it could be, and working with heroes like Matt Groening and Jim Brooks, and Sam Simon on The Simpsons. It was just the best education that one could get in character-based animated comedy, So that was great. But it's a very fast schedule, and a movie schedule it's much longer. They need to be pieces that stand the test of time, and there needs to be more depth to them, and the characters they need to take a journey and grow. They have to have an arc. It's not like a TV show where they start here at square one, they take a little journey, something happens, and they go end right back at square one. Yeah. So they can do it next week all over again. The apparatus is different too. But the ultimate job of telling an emotional story with characters that you care about and setting that all in a world that's fantastic but believable, that feels like our world, I would say The Simpsons and Wreck-It Ralph are very much the same thing. So the job is the same.
Interesting. Are you ever satisfied? Do you ever get to a
God,
place?
no.
Yeah. Do you ever get to a place where you're like, it's ready for the world, or do you just get to a place where take it? How do
John Lasseter says we don't. What is it? We don't release these films. I can't remember what he said, but
it was
really good.
It was
really, really good. Mark Andrews, could you?
We don't finish films.
We release them. Thank you.
I wondered about that. Yeah. I wondered.
Phalanx.
Well, that's all. Rich Moore, everyone. Congratulations on Wreck-It Ralph. Congratulations.
Finally tonight, we have a wonderful, wonderful film and a wonderful director, Frankenweenie. It was a long time coming, but it's here. And, of course, the director, Tim Burton. Director, producer, and original idea for Frankenweenie. You probably know everything already, but I'll throw some stuff out there. Tim Burton was born in Burbank, California. He began drawing at an early age. He studied animation at Cal Arts and worked at Disney on the animated feature The Fox and the Hound. He directed 2 short films for the studio, the stop-motion Vincent and the live-action Frankenweenie, before directing his first feature, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which I remember seeing in the theater and loving. The stars are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. Love that. Along with his many live-action features, he's produced and wrote the story for A Nightmare Before Christmas. He produced James and the Giant Peach. He produced and directed and created the character for Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. which earned him an Oscar nomination for animated feature, and produced 9. His credits are numerous. If you've ever watched a movie, you've probably seen a Tim Burton movie.
I'm sorry, it looks like you're hurt.
No, I just thought it looked cool.
It does.
Either this or an eye patch. I thought.
I'd go with that any day over the eye patch. I like it. Congratulations. I mean, it's so awesome. Okay.
No, I'm not going to do it a third time. This was another second.
Well, that's what. Yeah. Let me ask you: how closely to the original Frankenweenie? I mean, how much did you model the original to this, the short to this?
Well, I mean, just went back to the drawings after many years and looking at them, and after working on a couple of stop motions, it just felt like a more pure version of it. And there was something about the Frankenstein story, inanimate objects coming back to life, which fits the medium very well, and got to explore Burbank again without actually going there, which was nice. But I love Burbank.
Were you able to do anything with this feature-length Frankenweenie that you weren't able to do with the short, other than maybe expand the story?
Oh yeah, because it was such a memory piece. It was fun to kind of go back and really go back and loving other monster movies, putting that kind of, instead of the Frankenstein structure, more of the House of Frankenstein, or like when Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, where they threw in a bunch of other monsters, and remembering the kids that I went to school with, I knew several of the weird girls that were, and the teachers, the kind of scary teachers that you didn't know what they were talking about, and I remember, like when we built the classroom and seeing it for the first time, I got a really ill feeling. So I knew we got that accurately, and so it was fun to really just go back and explore and expand upon those memories.
Absolutely. At what point in the film's development did you decide to convert it to 3D?
Oh, well, that was always the intention. I mean, the thing that, the people that have worked on stop motion know is it's such a tactile. I mean, being on a set and seeing the characters and feeling it, I think you feel the artist's work. You see the textures better. You feel like what it's actually like to be on a stop motion set. So the idea of, the opportunity of doing black and white and 3D was just something special to me.
Did you get any resistance on the black and white?
No, I mean, they're used to, well, they're not quite used to me, but I remember, back in the good old days, like on Nightmare, I mean, I remember having extreme, you want to have a main character that has no eyes, So it's like they're always used to some kind of thing that. No, they were cool about it. I think they understood the fact that it was, part of the story, and for me, it helped with the emotion of it, and like I said, the opportunity of black and white and 3D just felt special.
Right. When you started at Walt Disney, you were quoted as saying animation was a dead medium. How do you feel now?
Well, as you can see, it's. I mean, those were the dark days. I mean,
they were. That's where you started.
Also, too, I was the worst Disney animator. I mean, that's why I was lucky that I was so bad that. Especially the drawing of foxes. I mean, it's like roadkill, So I was lucky. In some ways, the dark days kind of got me, into being able to sit in a room for a couple of years and just draw whatever I wanted to do. And so, in some ways, it was a really special time for me.
Yeah, I imagine it would be. Frankenweenie, it's the first feature that you've directed since Big Fish that didn't involve Johnny Depp at all. Did you ever consider Johnny for anything in this?
No, he does do good barking sounds, but no.
All except for 2 of your features have been scored by Danny Elfman. Do you see the role of music in animated films as different than live-action films in any way?
No, I mean, my relationship with him is always about, it's like another character, and I think when you're, likes the same kind of stuff I do, so he gets the horror movie idea, he gets the emotion of the story. So, I always treat him as like another character.
Mm-hmm. And how closely in Frankenweenie were you involved with the designing of the sets and the characters and
Well, I mean, that was the whole goal, was to kind of go back to, the original drawings I did for, the live action, which is obviously it's a different thing. So, it was trying to get back to that kind of the purity of those things, and actually more of the memory of Burbank. We shot the first one in Pasadena, but the idea of getting like just the feeling of like the classroom and the school and the city hall, and like I said, I knew we were getting there when I'd get this sort of queasy feeling, and kind of shock memory of it. So, we had a fairly smallish crew, but and it was because a lot of the crew was British or Bulgarian and all sorts of other places. So trying to describe Burbank to them, they think I was talking about another planet somehow. But we got there.
That's awesome. Will you stay up here and we'll bring everybody back up and we'll just do a group thing if that's all right?
A group hug.
All right.
Okay. Very good.
Let's bring the rest of the directors back up. What do you say? I've got questions.
Did anybody get this water yet?
No, we've refreshed it every time with a new glass and everything. Like, we got money. We can do that.
This will be a writing.
Yes. We read all your writers. They're very specific. We know. Okay, so let me just dive in here.
It's as good as you've heard.
And Tim, this I'll throw it out to you, and I'll also throw it out to Sam and Chris as well. And Peter, why not? I'll throw it out to you as well. In an age of where animated films are dominated by computer animation, films like yours have shown that stop motion can still thrive. Do you think stop motion can continue as a tool in visual effects for live action films as well? Or has that role been permanently taken over by computer animation? Anybody want to jump in on that?
I think mostly it's gone, like mostly you'd use computers with live action just because it's just to kind of combine things, right? It's just a lot more complicated.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think also too, unfortunately, I think there's a bottom line in Hollywood, where if something, I mean, I remember many years ago when Disney, they said they were going to stop making drawn animated films, which seemed like quite a rash statement. Luckily, they kind of went and did it, but. I mean, they do look at the medium, and then they look at box office, and like in the case of Frankenweenie, it wasn't the highest grossing picture of the year, and I do think that they, it's not like studio to wish list do. Let's make a black and white stop motion animation movie, or I mean, these guys did, but I think they, you hope it can survive, and because I think we all love it, and so it's.
I think in itself it will, like just stop motion. It'll always go on because people love them. People love making them, and people love watching them. There is a hardcore audience that just love it.
I think also it enables us to delve into the shadows maybe a little bit more. It allows us to go places that maybe bigger budgets wouldn't go to. I think that because we tend to be smaller budgets, we're allowed to maybe tell slightly different kinds of stories.
Mm-hmm. Almost an indie vibe?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, definitely.
But also, the thing I noticed too is like you guys were talking about. It's like, and Peter was saying, like I had my child's class come to see it, and the excitement that they get from seeing it. Then the next day, I got from these little kids, they just went home and did stop motion animated movies. And I hired them the next day. It's kind of like an Indonesian sweatshop, but
nimble little fingers.
I think there is a power to it that I think hopefully will always be there.
Absolutely.
We always described it as like being like Santa's workshop, except the elves are taller.
Yeah. Right. And they've got tattoos and piercings.
Well, for Frankenweenie and ParaNorman. Was there ever any concern for younger audiences?
No.
No? That's good. I love it. I'm not even going to
go anywhere with
No,
that
there
one.
was. I think it's something that we thought about every day.
Yeah, actually, the soundtrack can adjust things a lot. You know, like it's surprising what you can do with music and sound in terms of tipping it to too scary or not too scary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Computer animation gives filmmakers the leeway to choose any virtual look that they want, or any look that they want, from classic to traditionally drawn animation, stereo, or to photo realism. What look were you going for in your films, and what motivated that choice?
Well, I was going for many different styles in Wreck-It Ralph. That I wanted each of the different worlds that Ralph traveled to feel that it was it had its own art direction to it that evoked those styles of games, you know, that it represented. So.
Like the quick motion of the house members?
Right, like the 8-bit world of Fix-It Felix Jr. and the realism and the hostility of Hero's Duty, and then that kind of whimsical charm of Sugar Rush, you know, that kind of took nods from Nintendo and children's games, and which turned out to be more of a challenge than you would think, because there seems to be this invisible force that wants to make the movie look all of one piece, of one mind, you know, and it's just something that happens on its own. And I was, you know, the part of my job was to remind designers and animators and layout artists, you know, no, these should be very different, you know, so it was kind of pushing against this thing that naturally just wants to happen, you know, in trying to keep each of those worlds very separate and unique in and of themselves.
In Brave, we were looking at, you know, this place actually exists, but we didn't want to go totally photo real. We want to capture those textures and the varieties of the landscape. And then in animation, because you can, we push it, we accentuate it, we plus it. There's no standing stone on this earth that's as big as the ones that are in Brave. Those things, way more than the frickin' pyramids, those things. They're massive. The calendar stones, the tallest one's like 12 feet tall. These ones were like 60 feet tall. And we could do whatever we wanted. And with the lighting, we wanted a very theatrical lighting so we could really control the mood of the piece, because ultimately Brave is a darker story. It's one of the darkest stories that Pixar has done. And the Scottish Highlands kind of evoke that kind of mystery and that dark forebodingness. So we were just trying to capture that and push it.
Right. Well, and that's a good point. It kind of leads into a question that I'll throw out to all of you. When you approach your films, is there a challenge or is there a thought to trying to make a film for adults and children in the same stroke, I guess?
Well, I think since I'm an adult and a child at the same time, not bipolar, mind you, but that we just make what we like. You know, I think that goes to the superficiality of this medium. If you make it for a particular audience, you just screwed the other audience. You know, if you make it just for girls, you screw the guys. If you make it for guys, you screw the girl. That we just make something that we would want to see. And that's kind of the goal. And if we push it too far and it's PG-13, then you're all, ooh, dial it back, dial it back. Take out the blood and guts.
Can you say shoot?
Phalanx.
Peter, I want to hear you
Peter,
say
say
that.
phalanx.
Come on, you can turn that.
Phalanx.
There it is. It is better. I don't know what it is. It's that accent.
I don't know. That's just my call. Anybody else?
Well, I throw that out there because, you know, a lot of the films are, you know, wonderfully entertaining for adults and for children, and that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, that's skillful writing. It's really, really skillful storytelling.
Well, I'll throw out another audience. Not just this film, but I seem to get a lot of comments from people saying that dogs really like my movies. And not just this one. So it's like...
Yeah.
So...
Duly noted.
It's true. It's
People
true.
don't like my movies, but dogs do, so thank God.
And small
dog
babies.
numbers are through the roof. Your
'Cause they
dog
like
numbers
black and white. Small babies, they attract to the dog.
Oh.
And again, this is for everybody. What were the inspirations for your film's visual styles? Did you have any? Something. I mean, we all have
I'll
inspirations.
just quickly, old episodes of Davy and Goliath. I don't know that one. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we liked Mario Bava and like some of the Italian horror.
Okay.
Definitely into that color.
Sure.
Actually, for me as well, it was we always thought Scooby-Doo, an episode of Scooby-Doo directed by Sam Raimi, for example.
I worked with a wonderful production designer, and he was so perfect for the job because he worked on Brazil with Terry Gilliam. Oh, fantastic! He worked on Princess Bride. He'd worked on Hook. It's a pirate movie, and he worked on the Benny Hill show when he was a young man. So it was just perfect. Yeah.
Fantastic. That is fantastic. And this is for this is a technical thing, but it's one of those things that I find interesting. Did your cast work together or individually? I know we talked about that earlier.
It's a combination with us. We tried for the kids in particular. We tried to get them together, and it was exactly for that spontaneity that you struggle to find when they record on their own, especially for kids who don't have as much experience. I mean, Cody Smith McPhee voiced Norman, and he's a phenomenal actor. The kid who played Tucker, Tucker, who played Neil, his best friend, had little experience relatively. So to put them together, you got that awkwardness, and they stepped on each other, and not physically. But they stuttered and they stammered, and we got all that real stuff that is a gift to an animator.
When I started talking to John C. Reilly about playing the character of Ralph, he said, well, I love the story, I love the script, I love the whole idea, but I've heard that the way you make these movies is that the actor goes into a booth and puts on some headphones and just kind of acts out into this void, and I don't like that. That sounds horrible to me. I don't think I can give you my best if I'm acting that way. And I said, well, the good thing about our process is we're not slaves to it. The movie's the thing. So it made sense to me what he was saying. If this is the first time that John C. Reilly and Sarah Silverman are appearing in a movie together, the audience wants to hear that chemistry like Peter was talking about. It would be like, well, we're going to make Laurel and Hardy, but we're going to shoot each one separately and digitally put them together. It's like, and it just seemed like that makes sense, So we
some
took
things
great
resonate
stride.
true, and that's
and I said, you know what? We can get you and Sarah together. We can get we got Jack and Jane together, and it made the recording so much better. The fact that they could act with one another, that they could look into each other's eyes, that they could play off of the mood that the other one was creating. I can't imagine getting the same results by splicing something together that was done on separate days. So we did primarily all of our recording together, but we did have like early days where Sarah recorded alone, and those were great sessions to just kind of find the character. So by the time the two of them were together, they were real solid in who they were.
A hybrid of the two forms would seem to be the best almost, because you can work out some individual character things, and then you bring the team together, and you find that magic that sometimes comes through when you're just riffing or improvising or what the character would naturally say. I hear
Absolutely.
Anybody have thoughts?
Yeah, well, I did similar to these. Mainly with Martin Short and Catherine with the parents, because you get an intimacy, and it does help. So it was a mixture of things, and I think the only other problem is these films take so long. It's like with the kids, you know, they start one way and you call them, we need to do a few more lines. And I was like, okay, you know, they're, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, he's gone through puberty. So, you know, that's the problem with kids, you know, because you can go back and redo lines. But yeah, it does help. It does help when you can do it.
You all have spent so much time on your movies. These are not easy to do. These are not quick turnarounds. These are years and years in the making. So for the final question, I just want to throw it out and have each one of you answer if you don't mind. But what's something that you really want us to know? Tell us something that we need to know about your film.
Nothing. I mean, you know, no, I mean, to be honest, I always love, you know, I think we're in a day and age where everybody knows everything about everything. And you know, growing up, again, seeing like a Ray Harryhausen film and not knowing anything about it, you know, I sort of miss those days in a way. And, you know, so you always like just let the film hopefully speak for itself, so.
Okay, I'll take that.
Well, we made it to. We didn't make it for that opening weekend or that first 2 weeks. We made it to last like years, you know, like decades. We hope. So it does speak for itself. But you can watch it at least 10 times.
That's awesome.
More. Still see more.
And it keeps unfolding itself to you.
Yeah.
Each
I think
time.
it's a rich thing. That's why we put so much time into it, and that's why it's worth it, because people will be watching it in the future. You know.
Right. Absolutely.
I think for me, it is when I was a kid. I think I told my mum I was about age 6, that I wanted to be a storyboard artist. I don't even know. I didn't even know what it was, I don't think, at the time. But I definitely wanted to work in animation as far back as I can remember.
What clarity. That's
oh, I know.
outstanding.
It's sick, isn't it?
It's destiny. It's good.
Yeah, but I think that's actually the point, is that back then it was the dream to work, not just to work in animation, but to be able to tell your own stories. And this project is definitely a personal one for me. And the idea that I could be sat on this stage with these people at this point in my life, you know, if I think back to when I was 5 or 6, it is pretty amazing. And it can be done.
That's very special. That's very special. And that's a wonderful journey, too. It's a wonderful journey.
Well, this may be dangerous to say since a lot of people from Disney are here, but I would do this job for free. You know, I cannot. I can't believe I get paid to do this. You know, if it weren't my job, I'd be in my garage doing this. You know, right now. So to be able to do this as a job, you know, and make a living at it, you know, and it is mind blowing. So
I couldn't agree more. I've walked off sets where I said I would pay you to do that job. So.
I think for me, being in animation, I was always pissed off that it was seen as a kid's medium only. I grew up with the Disney, but I grew up watching the Japanese animation as well, and a lot of it. And they could do whatever they want. I said, well, why don't we have that here in our country? Why can't we do whatever story we want and just have it animated? And I think this year with these films and so many more, that the envelope for animation is being pushed, and we keep seeing more risky, deep films that we wouldn't have done 10 years ago, you know, coming out. And I want to be one of those guys who's pushing it more and more and more and more, because it's not only just an awesome medium, but there's so many more stories that we can tell that shouldn't just be shoved under because it's not suitable for children, you know, and there's a whole realm out there of stories that have yet to be told through animation.
Do you see more PG-13 R-rated animation?
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing a stop-motion animation R-rated right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Peter.
Well, I guess making an animated film is more or less the definition of deferred pleasure, because I mean, you're working. It's a long, long time before you get to hear the laughs that I thank you that I really enjoyed. Seeing it with an audience. That's why you do it. You do it to entertain, and you finally, after 5 years, you get to hear it, see it, hear it with an audience laughing. That's precious indeed. But that being the case, though, you've got to love making it. You've got to love doing it because it is a long time, And for me, I will say that the studio and the people and that team is as important to me as the film, because them being together and the atmosphere in the place, and the spirit in the place, I'm as proud of that as I am of the film we made in the end.
Absolutely. It has to be a family environment or atmosphere, I would imagine. You're working that long and that close. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to our nominees. Congratulations all. Congratulations.